Hello and good morning.
Hello, is this Arrow?
This would be me.
Yeah, Bill Haylon calling.
Well, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I was wondering if you were going to say Bill or William because you can go either direction on that.
Yeah, well, I guess William's my stage name, but Bill.
Oh, Bill. Oh, I can relate with that, sir. Oh, so much so.
How are you doing? Good?
I'm fantastic. Absolutely. It's a beautiful day in the Carolinas. It's a great day to be outside reading a book called The College Shrink.
Are you actually reading or just look at the pictures?
To put this book together, the emotion that's involved inside the paragraphs and the pages and stuff like that. Where did you pull this story from?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Many years ago, I got involved in starting a school for underprivileged boys in a tough community in Massachusetts. And we put together this plan. And I went and saw this guy who was a headmaster at my own kids' school. And I said, can I steal an hour of your time while I take the plan to tell me what we're missing? He looked at it and said, great plan, but you're missing a psychologist. He said, 275 of our 440 students in high school have seen the school's psychologist this year. And this was high school.
Mm.
I'm going, wow. And so I started following it high school through college. It only gets worse in college. It's you know, it's college is not a happy place for too many kids as we would hope it would be.
Right, right.
It's kind of the ever-escalating academic, social, parental pressure on the campus with readily accessible drugs, alcohol, left swipe technology, etc. The kids are going in droves to see the college therapist.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you see that every day. I mean, just in this neighborhood alone, over the past, let's say, 20 to 25 years, I think where two stayed in college, the rest of them fell out because they just didn't have that support, and sometimes that family support is not always going to be the one thing they're craving for.
And that's right. And you end up with, in the old days, it was you go to college and the issue is, you go to the therapist because you're homesick. But now it's anxiety, depression, body image issues, substance um, problems. And, 11%, according to two different studies, 11% of college kids consider suicide
Mm-hmm.
during their time in camp, which is just unfathomable uh, to me. And that's a number that I never ever forget.
Who,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, who is Emily in the story, and the importance of this is really something that listeners need to understand.
So Emily has been is a psychologist. She's worked on a university campus for 20 years, a kind of an elite university, and she sees 8 students a day, 5 days a week, not to mention evenings and weekends when she has to go to the hospital and see kids who are admitted. So it's kind of being on call. And so the story is told kind of, she's the protagonist. The story revolves around her life. But the thing we forget, which is all too real, is that therapists are people too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't always have the magical answer. They have their own problems in life. And when, Emily's life takes kind of a downward turn, it reflects on the care she gives her patients.
Mm.
Meaning there's stuff that's missing. And in this story, she's supposed to be a therapist, but by the end, it's unclear who actually is, treating who.
Mm-hmm. See, I've always believed in that it's like the therapists as well as the preachers are so giving with what they've got inside of them, but when they become empty, who is there for them?
That's exactly right. And in this case, it ends up being her patients, her clients, who in turn help her. So it's a story with, it's got these really wonderful characters. They will be real to you. They recognize you. And everything that Emily is going through, you will say, "Yep, I get it. Yep, I get it. Boy, that sucks."
Well, see, I mean, that's one of the things that has always been heavy on my heart. When clients become a part of your life. I mean, I'm in the radio industry, and I've always part of the people I work with. But right here with Emily, I mean, she's allowing those that are real close to her to become a part of her life.
And the difference between that and the radio industry is there's a lot of rules in psychology, and she bends and breaks so many of them along the way. But when you can, she ends up having a number of the students who've had issues living in the home, or students who are clients living in a home that another of her clients, an old former professor, has to try and help them recover, while at the same time sharing private information, drinking with underage kids, all the things you're not supposed to be doing
right.
as a psychologist. But she breaks all the rules. She's never been a rule breaker before. She knows she's breaking them, but she can't help herself anymore.
Yep. Kind of, in a very weird, kind of cool way, reminds me of The Graduate. I need some Simon and Garfunkel right now.
Yeah, those guys didn't like each other either.
Well, but don't you see the college shrink growing in that type of a direction? I mean, this would be an incredible series on Netflix or Hulu.
Yeah, I think so. That's your job to figure out how to do that. I have no idea how you do that, but because it's a story that is, some stories like a Grisham or a Baldacci are really, it's not the characters, it's the plot. What happens when, and this one is so driven by the characters. Mm-hmm. And as you create these characters, they kind of decide for you, for me, what they were going to do next. So it's some really rich people here. You just kind of fall in love with, and every time they do something not so good, you're kind of cringing, saying, "Oh, please don't do that."
So when you are building characters, I mean, to me, I'm a writer as well, and that's one of those things that I get really emotionally involved in is the creation of a character, and you've got to straddle that line between, okay, I realize I'm sharing the story, but I'm also this character bringing this story out.
Great point, Aaron. I think that as a writer, the characters, because you spend so much time with them, they become your friends.
Yes.
They become your best friends, frankly. And what I always map out at the beginning where I think the story is going to go, it never goes that way, because the characters, they become real people, and they kind of drive where you go, because it becomes, and maybe you feel it just becomes a natural reaction to what they are experiencing, and you kind of follow them. But they do become your friends, and you hate it.
Yes.
When you do something that they shouldn't be doing.
Well, I always call that a wine glass moment, where I'll go in with a glass of wine and sip on it while I'm kind of editing it. And there are times that I'll take stuff out only because I have the courage through that glass of wine to say it doesn't fit. Get it out of
here. If I had a glass of wine while I was writing my stories, it'd come up like a Bazooka Joe comic strip. But the book it's current. It's real issues on campuses. I come back to when 11% of kids in college contemplate suicide. That's not the nirvana that we expect when we send our kids off to college. And there's just so much with technology, with drugs, with alcohol, with all the social pressures. It can be a hard place for a young person to be.
Now, isn't that because that we live in this society where it seems like everybody wants to control us, and then when we finally have a little bit of space where we're in control, we suffer from a thing called post-production blues. It's like the demands on us are so, but when we get in control, it's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh, I must be a loser. I can't come up with what I can't think on my own. Oh my God, where are they at?
That is so right. So we got the kids going through high school and beyond with these helicopter parents, and we're all competing with each other. So our kid, and I was guilty of it. So our kids beat out the next one, and then you put them on this campus where all of a sudden there's freedom.
Yep.
There's no one to tell them what to do every day, but there is so much, and then technology. I mean, your life becomes pictures on a phone.
Oh
You end up sleeping with somebody.
God.
You don't know what their middle name or their favorite food is, and yet the academic pressure is incredible. And a big thing now is violence on campus, and a lot driven by alcohol, a lot driven actually increasingly by the more violent sports,
Mm-hmm.
where the coaches are pushing more and more, play harder, hit someone harder than ever, and that what they learn on the field, and you give them a few drinks, and that translates to their social life, their personal life. That's not good. It's tough for the brain of a 20-year-old kid to process all the stuff.
I got to tell you, one of my fears these days, and I think this book is going to set us up for that because, I mean, you deal with so much reality, is this thing called the metaverse, where they're saying the education is going to change. What's going to happen is education is going to make them individuals, and they're not going to have that collaboration with other human beings.
I think that's happening already. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
it's like, have you ever seen a kid who has lost his or her telephone arrow?
Yes.
They go nuts. They go ballistic because that's their friend, but they never talk on the phone. It's just always they're sending pictures,
That's it.
and there's the one-upsmanship. And so I think that metaverse analogy is right. They're kind of living in their own world, but that's not a world they're necessarily ready to live in yet.
Yeah. Does a book like this grow into websites and other businesses in the way of helping these students? Because, I mean, you seem to be a voice right now with these students by identifying, okay, this is the situation, you know what's happening, you're not alone.
I don't know. I'm certainly not equipped to do that.
Yeah.
I continue to tell stories. My first book was a story about high school and kids in high school and who were sent to boy was sent to a private high school by his parents because they thought he was not doing a good job. He was not living up to his potential. Um, and the book's called I'm Will, so the character's name is Will. And it takes Will through high school and all the pains of high school he went through. So there's a girl who's a year older who she claimed to be a lesbian. He was kind of in love with her. But this girl, Jelly, is a primary character in my newest book, The College Rank. So it's Jelly having gone from high school to college. So I think my job is just to keep telling the stories about what can happen with our children as they go from teenagers to young adults and beyond.
So where can people go to find out about your books and find out more about you so they can start sharing a lot of love with you, sir?
I love when you ask these questions, Daryl. They can go to W.D. Haylon, WWilliamDavidHaylon.com is the website. And they can go to Amazon's easiest and order The College Shrink.
I love it.
By William Haylon. And then I hope they do. I think it's funny, I just got a review from a woman who I have no idea who she is, but she said she bought the book. She was going on vacation. Her plane was delayed for hours and hours and hours. And she said it was her best plane delay ever.
Wow.
So it must be a fast book. She said she read the entire book while she was at the airport. I can't read that fast. but as you know, being a writer, you love to write, but it's always kind of fun to get messages like that or reviews like that. So I think it's a good story. I think there's a fun narrator in there who kind of keeps dropping tidbits, breadcrumbs about what may be happening in the future, and so you kind of live on his words. But it's it's a good story, and it's both fun, it's entertaining, but it's a real eye opener too.
Absolutely.
to the kids today.
Well, please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you, Bill.
Yeah, I'd love it, Doug. You're entertaining as all get out.
Excellent. Well,
are you like this when you're not on your off your shows?
Absolutely. It's always just being upbeat and fun and getting to know people.
How'd you get in this business?
I've been in radio for 43 years.
How come you sound like you're 30?
No, I'm 60.
Well, you got pretty good energy for 60.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.